If you've begun to suspect that somebody in your life may be a narcissist, you might be wondering how you can know for sure. What are the signs of narcissism? In this video, I'm going to go over some specific real-world examples of what pathological narcissism looks like. Welcome to Looking Behind the Mirror, where we explore narcissism and take our lives back as we make sense out of nonsense. As a quick disclaimer, everything I say is based on my opinions and my personal experiences. I am not a professional, and if you're really struggling, I encourage you to seek professional help. I am providing links below for you. Narcissism is a little tricky. It is subjective, what it is or is not. There's no blood test for this. There's no surefire way to know for sure that somebody is or is not a narcissist, and it does exist on a spectrum. Although, in my opinion, there is a line where narcissism becomes pathological. But that being said, there's no narcissist sign on anybody's forehead, and it can be really difficult to identify who can be considered a narcissist and who can't. One of the reasons for this is that narcissism is a pattern of perception. It is a pattern of how the narcissist is processing information and how the narcissist interprets reality. So it's not really a behavior or a collection of behaviors. The symptoms in the DSM are signs of narcissism. They are not the narcissism itself. The narcissism itself is not something that you can see, is not something that directly manifests. The behaviors are the signs of the faulty perception. And that's why no two narcissists are ever going to behave exactly the same way. They are perceiving reality in a very, very similar way, but the way that they react to that and the behavior that results from their distorted sense of reality are going to be a little different from each other. So I'm going to go over some pretty universal signs of pathological narcissism, but keep that in mind. The reason that nothing is really a sure sign of narcissism is because narcissism is a pattern of perception. Narcissism is the way that the narcissist thinks and the way that the narcissist interprets reality. So that's really something that you have to observe over time. So what we're really talking about here are behaviors that very, very commonly result from this thinking pattern, from this way of interpreting reality. So what are these behaviors? One of the most common signs of narcissism is a lack of empathy. And this is one of the symptoms in the DSM for narcissistic personality disorder. But what does a lack of empathy really look like? Some narcissists can behave in a very empathic way. Some narcissists are philanthropists, or they're really great at being there for you and giving you a pep talk. But when you really get to know a pathological narcissist, no matter how good they are at pretending that they care, you will see a lack of empathy. You'll see a shocking lack of empathy in any pathological narcissist once you've gotten to know them. And I think one of the most common ways that I've seen this is an us versus them kind of mentality and an extreme lack of empathy for people that are not like the narcissist, maybe people that are struggling. I think a really common example might be the way that they treat panhandlers or homeless people that are sitting on the street, how judgmental they can be, how unwilling they can be to step into the shoes of somebody that isn't like them or isn't as fortunate as they are. Narcissists tend to believe that any of the good things that they have in their life are theirs because they did something special, or they are special. They just deserve special things because they're special. And people that don't have those things, it's because they're not special. It's because they don't deserve it. There's something bad, inherently bad about them. And there's just no empathy for the lesser thans that they look down on. There's no mercy. Narcissists don't have mercy for other people. They don't believe that other people can be redeemed. They don't believe that other people can be rehabilitated. They really have this mentality that people are disposable, and people that have messed up, made mistakes, or even just run into some bad luck should just be thrown away, that they don't deserve second chances. They don't deserve help. They just aren't willing to give people a break. Now, this behavior can switch on itself for narcissists that want to appear empathic, that want to appear helpful because it makes them look good. If you were to go to a narcissist and ask them for help with something that they can help you with that would make them look good, then they're great at virtue signaling. They're great at doing things that they think make people indebted to them, that make people owe them one later. And narcissists don't do anything nice for anybody without keeping score, without expecting something in return. Their lack of empathy can also show when you go to them with specific problems that you're struggling with. Maybe you're going through a really hard time where something has deeply hurt you. You're really struggling emotionally with something, and you'll find that narcissists cannot support you in these types of situations. They might have some trite words, some shallow pep talks they can give you, but they really can't understand your pain. They don't want to understand your pain. Narcissists are not comfortable allowing you to sit in hurt feelings, allowing you to sit in discomfort, allowing you to sit in a place in which something has hurt you, that you've been the victim of something. Narcissists don't want you to sit there because they are the victims. They're the ones that everybody's picking on, and they're the only thing that matters. And if you're sitting there the victim of something, if you're sitting there trying to heal from something or emotionally hurting from something, that takes the focus off of them. That takes attention away from them and puts it on you. So the nicest narcissist is going to sit and tell you why you shouldn't feel bad. Another sign of a narcissist is somebody that cannot accept an apology. And what's funny about this is that narcissists will often invent reasons that you should apologize to them for. So you're often apologizing for things that really aren't even that big of a deal, or things that you didn't even do, or things that you didn't even know about. But you find yourself begging for forgiveness, apologizing, and it's like pounding your fists against a brick wall. Narcissists want you apologizing to them, but they will never accept your apology. And the reason they will never accept your apology is if they did that, then you would have to stop apologizing. Narcissists never forgive anybody because forgiving people gives up a piece of power. Having a crime to hold over somebody's head gives them power. It gives them leverage. It gives them something to shame you over. It gives them something to remind you of when they're trying to ask you for a favor. And accepting an apology from somebody who's truly sorry really just goes back to empathy. It takes a little bit of empathy to accept an apology. So narcissists lack empathy and they want to control you. So why would they ever accept an apology? There's really no reason for them to ever accept an apology from anybody. Okay, one huge red flag of pathological narcissism that, in my opinion, conclusively shows narcissism with very little alternative explanation is confusion, is how confusing narcissists are. Narcissists are always contradicting themselves, conflicting with their own narrative. They'll passionately argue something that they were just saying the opposite of yesterday. Nothing they say ever really creates a cohesive picture of reality. Nothing they say ever really has any deep meaning once you really look at it and start asking questions about, wait, what does that mean? Because nothing they say ever really means anything. They almost just talk to hear themselves talk. They just say things and make things up as they go. And it can really be maddening to try to pin down anything that they're saying, because the things that they are saying, they seem so adamant about, they seem so passionate about, that you can't even conceive of the notion that what they're saying doesn't actually mean anything. So you really get lost trying to ask them what they mean, assuming that they must mean something, they must be talking about something, but you go around in these endless circles because they really don't know what they're talking about, and they're just saying things because of the emotions that they feel. And the more you try to pin them down and try to create a cohesive narrative out of what they're saying, the angrier they get at you for not just accepting whatever it is they mean, even though they don't even know what they mean. They contradict their own reality and their own statements without ever acknowledging that they're doing this, and definitely without explaining why they're doing it. I mean, if I spent all day long telling you that I love chocolate and chocolate is just my favorite thing in the whole world, and then tomorrow I told you that I don't want chocolate ice cream because I don't really like the taste of chocolate, you might expect me to explain that. You might ask me, wait, I thought you just spent all day yesterday telling me how much you love chocolate, and now you're telling me you don't like chocolate. I don't understand. Is it just because this is the ice cream flavor? You just don't like chocolate ice cream? And if I'm a rational, reasonable person, I will acknowledge, oh yeah, I did tell you yesterday that I love chocolate. And oh yes, you're right, but I don't like chocolate ice cream. That's the only kind of chocolate I don't like. But if I'm a narcissist, I'm just going to deny the whole thing. I'm just going to say, I don't know what you mean. I didn't tell you that I liked chocolate. I told you I liked all kinds of different flavors yesterday, and I've never liked chocolate ice cream. You know that. And you're just going to feel like you're going crazy. This insane, confusing type of communication can also create hypocrites in narcissists. Narcissists are huge hypocrites because of how conflicting their stances are. Another sign that you're dealing with a pathological narcissist is just the feeling of walking on eggshells. You're always feeling a little uneasy. You're always trying to earn approval. You're trying to earn the right to be treated like a human being. And you're always a little worried that something's out of place, that you've forgotten something, that you haven't done something the right way, and that all hell's gonna break loose later if you don't figure out what that thing is. Now, this is more of a symptom that you can observe in yourself. This isn't something that the narcissist, him or herself, is doing, but this is a very big sign that you're with a narcissistic person, because only a narcissist will really make you feel this way. And the only other explanation for this is if you've been the victim of narcissistic abuse for so long that you start feeling this way with normal, healthy people, because you've just internalized this idea that you need to make sure that everything is perfect, or else everybody's going to get angry at you and you're going to be severely punished for having things out of place that you didn't even know were out of place. Another sign similar to this, where it's really something that you're doing versus something the narcissist is doing, is that you feel responsible for the narcissist's feelings. You've been taught that you are responsible for the anger that's being directed at you for no good reason. You are responsible to keep this person happy. You're responsible to regulate this person's emotions. If this person is upset, if they're in a bad mood, it's somehow your fault. It's your failing, because it's your job to keep this person happy. And on the face of it, it's really easy for an abuse victim to be in denial about this and not see it. But if you really think about the way that you feel when someone is upset with you, if you tend to think, I need to do something in order to make this person feel better, then that shows that you have internalized the idea that you are responsible for the reason that this person seems to be in a bad mood. And that is a result of consistent narcissistic abuse. Only a narcissist is really going to make you responsible for their feelings, make you responsible to keep them feeling good about themselves. And the aftermath of dealing with somebody like that chronically can make you believe that you're responsible for the way anyone around you feels. Another sign of pathological narcissism is endless arguments that go in circles. I have a video, it's actually my most popular video about what a narcissist sounds like in an argument that I put out about a year ago, where I do a reenactment of what these types of arguments sound like. And they really all sound the same. It's just these endless, pointless arguments that cannot be resolved. And when you're caught in these arguments, you're really trapped in this place where you're trying to figure out why this person is so angry. And you cannot for the life of you communicate. You cannot for the life of you figure out what it is that you did exactly this time, because the narcissist can rant and rave over something that you've been doing for months or even years. And this thing has always been just fine. The narcissist has never said anything about it. And now all of a sudden it's the greatest crime known to mankind. And you're being yelled at all night long for tying your shoes the wrong way or using the wrong kind of laundry detergent. And when you try to understand, when you try to ask, Why didn't you ever say anything about this before? You're met with things like, I've been telling you this all along, you just don't listen to me. And you might say something like, I don't remember you telling me that. And it's just no matter what you say, you're the bad guy. And when you try to resolve the argument, you can't even figure out what it is that you need to do to make things right. You can say something like, okay, I will never use that kind of laundry detergent again. I didn't know that it bothered you so much. I will use this kind from now on. And then the narcissist will say something like, well, you're just using that because it's what I want. You're not using that. I mean, I remember getting in these arguments with an extremely narcissistic person I knew about whether or not I should wear my shoes on a certain section of the floor. And I really thought the narcissist was being a little ridiculous, but I agreed because it was so important to this person. I agreed to only wear my shoes in certain places. But the narcissist was still very angry with me because I didn't completely agree that the places I needed to wear my shoes were the correct places. The fact that I was doing it just because it was important to the narcissist wasn't enough. I had to also completely agree with the reasoning. And this can lead to endless, maddening arguments because you can't always change your mind about things. Narcissists feel entitled to control your brain, to control your preferences and your opinions. Even if you do everything they want, you still aren't good enough because you don't think exactly the way they do. And you might not agree completely at 100% with everything that they think. There's also this feeling with narcissists where you really don't know exactly where you stand. You're always trying to be good enough to stay in this imaginary club. The narcissist has this way of making you feel like you've always got to be good enough to be accepted in his or her good graces, that you've got to be constantly earning your spot or earning the right to be treated like a human being, to be earning approval. And it's something that you're constantly chasing. When you're in a relationship with someone that's not pathologically narcissistic, they're typically going to accept the fact that you're a human being and that you're not going to be this perfect reflection of every little thing that they want, of every little thing that they imagine a perfect person is. Normal, healthy people aren't going to blame you and punish you for being your own autonomous person. So I hope that some of these specific examples I've given can help you see pathological narcissism or not see pathological narcissism in whoever it is in your life that's causing you to wonder this. But I also want to talk about why this matters. I know for me, identifying pathological narcissism in somebody in a way that I felt extremely confident that this was the cause of the behavior issues and of the problems in the relationship, it helped me let go of the idea that I could fix this. It helped me let go of the idea that this relationship was worth any more of my time. I realized that I needed to get out of the relationship instead of continuing to try to fix it. And that was the value for me in recognizing narcissism. It also helped me understand what was happening because I was so incredibly confused. I knew that there was something specific wrong. I knew that whatever was happening had a name. I just felt that intuitively. I knew that it was something specific that was wrong, but I just had no idea what it was. And once I solved that puzzle, I personally felt a lot more at peace, understanding what the behavior meant, understanding why we were in an endless circular argument over where I left my shoes last. Once I was able to make sense out of the behavior, it made it a lot easier for me to heal, and it really gave me the reason I needed to leave. I also think that identifying people that are abusing us or causing us a lot of distress as narcissists helps us feel validated. When we can share our experience with other people, or when we can read or learn about the experiences of other people that really match our own, it can help us feel like we're not alone, like we're not crazy, because narcissists work so hard to convince us that we are alone and that we are crazy and that we're misperceiving everything and remembering everything wrong. So it can be very validating and very grounding and can deliver a lot of peace and healing to us when we can see that this is a common pattern for these types of people and that this is why this is happening and it's not our fault and we're not alone. But what I wish I had known back then when I was so confused is that I don't need a diagnosis of somebody to identify abusive behavior. You don't need to be able to say for certain that someone is a pathological narcissist before you can say that their behavior is unacceptable. You don't need anybody else's approval to tell you who you should or should not be spending your life with. You have the right to leave people that are making you miserable. You have a right to decide who should be in your life and who should not. And you are the only one that has the right to make those decisions. I think a lot of people that have been chronic victims of narcissistic abuse have this kind of pattern or idea that they're not allowed to leave difficult relationships. They are guilt-tripped and manipulated in all kinds of ways to make them blame themselves for the problems and convince them that they don't have a right to decide who should or should not be in their life. If somebody's making you miserable, narcissists can make you believe that it's your job to fix the relationship and it's your job to somehow convince that person to treat you better, because obviously they're treating you like crap because you must have been doing something terrible to deserve it, right? It's a really backwards way of thinking, and it's really unfortunate that so many people are trapped in this belief system where they feel like they have to stay in these toxic, exploitive relationships, that the only way out is to fix it, and that's just not so. You have the right to leave somebody that's abusing you. Somebody that's abusing you is not going to stop abusing you. And for people that are pathological narcissists, I actually have some empathy for these people. I don't believe that people choose to be pathological narcissists. I don't believe that a lot of them even realize that they're pathologically narcissistic. Narcissists convince themselves that they're in the right, that they're just defending themselves, that they are entitled to treat people the way they do. Narcissists are not perceiving reality correctly, and that is not their fault. But somebody else's mental disorder is not your problem, especially one in which they are unwilling to acknowledge that they have a problem, that they don't want help, and that the only way they know how to cope with it is to make you pay for it, is to hurt you, and to offer absolutely zero acknowledgement of the sacrifices you make, and to have absolutely zero appreciation for what you do. Nobody should ever have to do that. It is not your job to regulate the emotions of somebody who cannot regulate their emotions. It's not your job to pay for something that can't be paid for, or to indefinitely try to fix something that can never be fixed. Narcissists are like pitchers with a hole in the bottom, and they expect you to stand there and fill them and fill them and fill them for the rest of all eternity with no thanks, no reward, and nothing but abuse and hurt and pain in return. And you don't need to do that. It's not your problem. It doesn't matter if they can or cannot help it. Nobody else's compulsion to abuse people is anyone else's problem but their own. And the more people that are willing to make somebody else's abusive behavior their responsibility, the more abusers are enabled to continue their behavior. I don't care if a narcissist can or cannot help their behavior. When you're looking for a personal relationship with someone, or especially a romantic relationship with someone, you are not that person's therapist, and you're not that person's mother. And even if you are their mother, once they are a grown adult, their emotional problems are not your problem anymore, because there's nothing you can do about it when that person refuses to do anything to address those problems. So I hope this video gave you some specific ideas of what pathological narcissism looks like, but I also hope that it helped you to let go of this need to conclusively identify somebody as a pathological narcissist before you do something to improve your own life. You have the right to let go of people that are hurting you, whether or not you're able to say that they are or are not a narcissist. It doesn't matter. People that are mistreating you and abusing you are not people that you are obligated to stay with, that you are obligated to help, that you're obligated to continue allowing to hurt and abuse you. And it doesn't matter why. I hope this helps. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and comment below any ideas you have for me for future videos. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you like this video and would like to see more like it in the future. Until next time, thanks. Bye.